Yo, what is going on, guys? And welcome back to the House of Cinema podcast. Guys, I want you to sit back, grab your popcorn, drag your soda to your chair, sip that motherfucker, and relax. Because I think this is going to be a hefty episode. Before I introduce the movie, I got an awesome guest here from Filmoptix. What is going on, Christian?
Hey man, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me. I hope my wavelength is coming through. Okay, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My mic can be super quiet sometimes, so it's like I
It's
never
it's
know when
happening for me
it's
too.
yeah. But thank you so much for having me on, man. It's been a blast. I was rushing for some reason. I thought we were starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, so I was rushing back from the gym. And I was like, "Wait, oh, it says 9 o'clock. Oh man, I had like an extra hour." But I mean, I was pretty much done with everything anyway, so I was like, "Cool, I can actually shower before coming on here." But I'm very excited to talk about Nope. It is, it's in Jordan Peele's top three movies. Um, for sure, but I'm very excited because I I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as everybody else. I do need to watch it a second time to get a good feel of it. Fortunately, I was not able to watch it a second time before we recorded our episode on our podcast. But I am, I'm still open minded. I'm very very excited to kind of just dig into everything.
Wow. I just want to go ahead and say I'm actually kind of surprised that you were lukewarm on this. I didn't know what I didn't see anything you posted about your reviews or anything on Twitter. I wanted to go in fresh, especially for this conversation. And I'm kind of shocked because I feel like Nope has been yet again another pretty diverse conversation
Yeah.
in the Twitter sphere. And I feel like I've been saying that every single episode, but it feels like now every single movie has just got either you love it or you hate it. And yet again, here we are with Jordan Peele's third film that he wrote and direct yet again after Get Out, Us, and now it's Nope. And this was not a movie I was particularly expecting. And guys, by the way, this is the first time I'm remembering to say spoiler warning before we get into any spoilers. So I just want to say that exactly. He's got the soundboard. We're all set, baby. So if you guys have not seen this movie, I highly recommend to go out and see this. Well, I might not have been the biggest fan of it. I definitely want to recommend it to the sci-fi fans. I don't think it's as horror aspect as the last two films within Jordan Peele's filmography. And I gotta say, I feel like that was one of the things that coming out of this, I was mostly shocked about. The first act of this is set up pretty tensely, I want to say. And when you get into the reveal of the UFO not really being a UFO, but being a higher life, as they try to describe it, I sat down and wondered, I'm like, holy shit, he just went full sci-fi in this ending. And I gotta say, that's what I love about Jordan Peele. He takes these different stories, or he takes genres and twists them on his head. He takes psychological horror in Get Out. He takes horror in Us. I mean, just that first 40 minutes in Us, just absolutely bone chilling between the direction, the
Yeah.
cinematography, and the acting just coming together. And now I feel like he took another road after this first act of this film. I think it just turns into a full-on sci-fi um fucking signs type of move here. Just something you weren't expecting, but I feel like it didn't sit right with everyone. But how did you feel about this being Jordan Peele's third film, and especially coming off being, I would say, one of the least scarier films of his filmography?
When it comes to the scary part, I mean, I think it did a really great job of, adding those horror elements. It's not your typical like slasher horror movie, kind of like Us was, in a way, but obviously there's a deeper meaning. I walked out of this movie. I was a little perplexed because but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just I don't think I understood everything on a first watch. I do think this is a movie that people need to watch multiple times to get a solid understanding, especially if you are like an avid moviegoer. I believe on our show, I think Devin said the best word to explain what, well, not what's going on, but like the theme would kind of be trying to tame nature, because we see, with the monkey, I forgot the name's monkey. I was just gonna call him Bubbles, but I know that's not right. Um, Michael Jackson's monkey, but they had the monkey that they were trying to control and tame for the TV set, and then that kind of moves into the Haywood Hollywood horses, where you had OJ and Emerald trying to excuse me, trying to show, hey, this is how you're supposed to treat a horse on set, and that was more unobtainable. And then this whole UFO thing that's happening, where they don't realize it's not a UFO, it's an actual like living organism until later on. I feel like there's the whole like evil and good talk, where it was interesting. It's just, I don't feel like it was his strongest, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. I think I'm around like an 80, 82 right now, because I did enjoy it. He knows how to write. Jordan Peele knows how to write characters. He knows how to get us to care for these characters, and he knows how to world build, and he definitely did with this movie. Between the visual effects, which is probably the best visual effects he's had for a film so far, and the sound design was fantastic. I think it was just as good as A Quiet Place part 1 and part 2 when it came to the sound design. Like, I mean, just those thunderous roars,
So
like,
haunting,
it
dude. It's just
was
super haunting.
it was. But like, to answer your question, I think he did a great job. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it. I just need to watch it again. It's not that I'm like, oh, this movie's bad, but I don't think it's the strongest, but it's not a bad movie at the same time. I think I just prefer Get Out more, just because I like the underlying themes of that. And I never, Us creeps me the crap out. Like, it really just does.
Dude.
I've only seen it twice,
Mhm.
but like, I don't know if I can keep, I don't know if I can go back to that movie, because it really just creeps me out.
Dude,
But
it's
like,
like bone chilling. It's
it
like,
no, it really
it
is. Like,
is. And it's funny because he kind of replicated that in this movie with the Jupe kids,
Oh
unironically
my
enough.
gosh.
Which, bro, when I shit you not, I watched this movie twice now. And I will say that even after the second viewing, I don't think the themes fully come through in the way
Yeah.
that I think he's trying to tell it. But to go back to the Jupe kid stuff, bro, absolutely fucking bone chilling when the camera goes back around and the kid's kind of like hiding in perfect form of the barrel, and you see
Yeah.
the eyes, but you don't know if your eyes are just playing tricks on
Tricks
you.
on it. Yeah.
And then they slowly come up, they start walking, and then the next one just comes out from the doorway. And bro, literally you had the same reaction as OJ. Nope,
This is like,
nope,
nope.
just nope, 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 nope. And
It's
I
funny.
felt
I mean,
that.
Daniel Kaluuya was on Jimmy Fallon, and Daniel asked Jordan, like, why is it called Nope? And he's like, that's what black people say when some shifty stuff is about to go down. He just says,
So
excuse me. He just says nope. It's like,
it, I'm glad you
exactly. It's
mentioned
just,
that.
mm-mm.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because it wasn't a problem for me. It was more of a question. Like, I couldn't tell if this movie was called Nope based off that reason, because I felt like that totally came across through the
Yeah,
movie, or just I don't know if it was because of all the internet speculation of the meaning being not of planet Earth, or if that's kind of the crisscross meaning he has. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine sitting on that with kind of one of those Inception endings, like
yeah. Like, it's
with
up
what
for
you will.
yeah.
Exactly. And I think coming out of the film, I found that the most rewarding is the title. And I think
Oh
that was
yeah.
the most profound thing when they first announced this movie. Everyone was just like, why is it called Nope in a fucking cloud? With
Yeah.
like everyone was just like, yeah, I cannot wait to see this. And especially announcing the cast with Kiki Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and Steven Yeun. I mean,
Mhm.
three of the hottest actors you've got right now. Easily. Steven Yeun off his actor nomination. Kiki Palmer, she's always kind of just been this fan favorite throughout the decades for just our age group now. And I think
Yeah.
that's just fully great. And Daniel Kaluuya, he's just been absolutely killing it in the game right now. And so I'm gonna bring up what I would say is the weakest part of the story for me, and I would say
Was it
it's the.
Barbie Ferreira not being in the movie
I,
enough?
I honestly, I was so shocked when I saw her name came up. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah, I
Barbie
was too.
Ferrer's in this movie. She shows up for one scene. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
she's not in this
She's
movie.
well, she's in there for like a little bit. Like it's maybe 5 minutes. I think she
Not
plays
even
Nessie.
she comes from behind to like scare
Scant. Yeah.
the fry guy, and then
Yeah,
she
yeah.
makes a
Brandon Pereira.
reaction
Yeah.
when yeah, and then she makes the funny reaction when he's looking at their cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it.
That's it. You never see
You
her
never
again.
see her
I
again.
thought that maybe she'd be like the second fry person to come in and help at the end or something, but nope,
Yeah.
she's just there, and I'm like, okay, you guys just credit. I mean, there really weren't that many actors, so I guess you guys can credit her in this. But I would say for me, the Jupe storyline, I don't want to say was the most confusing, but I want to say the most questionable because the way not Daniel Kaluuya, look at me. Jordan Peele has always set up his first three movies with showing us a glimpse of what happens later on. And so this
Yeah.
film opens up with Gordy the ape on Gordy's home, which if you guys have not seen the opening for that show that he
I
posted
have not
online,
seen it yet.
no way.
I
It's so
glanced
funny.
I glanced
It's
by
so
it
funny.
earlier today and I was like I was so busy with work I never really got a chance to like actually sit down and watch it. But yeah, my people are telling me to watch it. I definitely have to, but yeah, the whole Gordy that was I mean, it's Jordan Peele knows how to like even with like just the trailers, like you don't know what's gonna happen. There's a lot of things that I thought were gonna happen in the trailer that did not happen.
Same.
Especially with like the monkey's hand. I thought that was like an alien's hands
That's what I thought too.
originally, and I was like, man, he's so sly when it comes to this stuff, but it's genius. Like it is a good movie, and like I don't want people to think that like I'm like, oh well, it's not the best, but no, like it really is. I just need to watch it again to figure out like how I like where it ranks. As of right now, I think it is like his weakest film, but I also feel like it's probably his most mature film at the same time. But I still think Get Out is like one of my like top favorite movies like of all time because it's just it was
Yeah.
something new, it was something fresh, like coming from Jordan Peele, this super funny guy from Key and Peele, and it
Just like
pretty much
what?
put Daniel Kaluuya on the map, his first breakout role, and it was just so interesting. I mean, so is Us, but it's like, I mean, I just want him to keep doing what he's doing because I mean, I think this does fit into his universe, but you're not gonna like every single movie from like your favorite director. So I mean, I think it's fine
No,
to not
yeah.
yeah, to not be like, oh, like yeah, like I liked it. It's like it's not as good as Us or even Get Out because I still think Get Out is his strongest film. But yeah, I mean like it is a the way that he's able to just set up everything. They're out in California. There's not a lot of people out. Like weird things happen in like the Midwest where it's just this straight farmland and
And
like
yeah.
everything that happens with like their father like mysteriously passing away from like these random rocks, but like I mean it still gave us those like tense horror like scary moments like when OJ's in the car and the UFO is literally just hovering over him.
And you're hearing the screams.
Yeah. And like he kind of like looks out, like he kind of opens up his his door and he
It's just like,
closes it and
nope.
he's like, nope. And he locks it, which was fantastic. I was like, you can see that he's just like, come on, he's like, just hurry up because he kind of found out that it like detects movement, so he's like trying to wait for it to pass, and like those are very tense moments, and like what we kind of got a glimpse of what the alien looked like and like its innards, and I was like, it's something that the human mind would not be able to comprehend, and I think that's probably what he was going for this entire movie, because like I would say if there's one word for me to describe it, it would be incomprehensible, because that's what
Yeah.
we were talking about in our podcast, where it's like I don't think you're going to understand everything the first time around. Like you're not
Or
going to
the second
understand
time
it.
in my case.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do
it's
want to watch it
it's
again.
a difficult film. I'll be honest, and this
Yeah,
film actually made me not come to like a realization, or made me really think hard about a lot of the times when you look at these reviews, especially before a film comes out, a lot of these people only see it once. And I feel like, me personally, every time I come out of a film once, I kind of need to see it again, because no one's ever gonna grasp everything, especially in all these movies being 2+ hours long. You're
yeah,
not gonna grasp every single detail. You're not gonna grasp every single line. You're not gonna grasp every single storyline and how they might interweave in the smallest intricate ways. And you have to go back and watch them. And I think that's where a lot of this film really comes from, in, I want to say, in the appreciation of Jordan Peele, because I said it earlier, I don't think a lot of the thematic elements of this movie really come through in the end the way that Get Out or Us really does. And you mentioned it earlier, how not every single film is going to be a hit with any director. And I absolutely agree. I still think Get Out was top of the top, because not only was it a fresh film, but like you said, it's from Jordan Peele, from Keel and Peele, the guy who's known for comedy. Like,
yeah.
that was my first thing. I didn't even want to go see it, because I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to make a good horror film. And then the
It was
Rotten Tomato skill,
so good.
it's it blew me away. And I think that's why we hold a lot of gratitude towards Get Out, but also because I feel like it's the most fleshed out film, and it's also pretty clear on what it's trying to tell in its
Mm.
story. And I'm not saying if it's not clear, it makes it a bad thing, but I feel like if you're trying too hard to, I don't know a better way to say this, but to make it like very filmy for film students to really dig deep into it,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like you're gonna lose some people along the way. And I feel like
I've
that's what this
yeah.
film did.
Yeah, but I've even though you're gonna lose people along the way, I feel like people are still gonna enjoy it because they just love Jordan Peele so much, and it's like even if
Exactly.
you didn't like, even if you didn't understand what the movie was about, you
He
still
does so
enjoy the
many interesting
performances.
things.
Yeah,
He
yeah, you
And
still
that's
enjoy
why I
like,
love seeing him. I love seeing his
mm,
movies. Like, Get Out was the best. Us was,
it
I
was good.
enjoyed the
Yeah,
first half, but I felt like once it went into the end of the second to the third, it started to go down for me. And I
mm,
kind of feel the same with this. But I feel like he's the only one really doing these really unique, fresh, and different ideas that it's making me want to go out. Like, when's the last time we've seen a UFO film?
Cowboys and Aliens.
Exactly.
I guess
Like,
can't
what was
really
that,
count Stranger
2011,
Things,
2012? Like,
something like
that's
that.
insane to
Yeah,
me. And I think he added his own twist that he did with the psychological horror,
yeah.
with just like the plain horror of humanity within us. And I think he took a new aspect of what could be above, what is greater than human life and our evolutionary form. And I think he
Mm,
found a really unique and interesting way, regardless if it fully digested in the end. And I still think that's why a lot of this does work, even if
mm.
the thematic elements don't fully come across.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, for sure. It is one of those, it's either you like it or you don't.
Yeah,
It is kind of just like some people may feel like a lot of nothing like happens because it's like, they're spending all this time trying to like essentially like capture and like figure out what's going on with this, this UFO, and it's all about extraterrestrial life. You don't really get a lot of these kind of movies. Like you said, it's been a while since we've had a like
mhm.
this western, just like aliens in and of
Yeah.
itself. So I mean, like it was an alien towards our world, but it was interesting. It's kind of like watching like a nature documentary almost, because like you had Michael Wincott, who played Antlers Hoist, who's like this amazing like film director. He wants Emerald wants to get this on tape, and it's I mean there are similar, like I kind of understand it, but it
So
is.
I
Sorry,
want
go
to
ahead.
no, no, I just want to ask you a question because you're starting to go into territory of like some I don't know if it's a problem. I don't know if it's a nitpick.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can help me with this. But so the whole thing is the alien, the extraterrestrial has its own radius of killing technology. And that's a constant theme throughout this is how do we capture something when it cuts off all technology?
Yeah, that too.
And I
Yeah.
feel like in the third act, they caught him on film, and I don't
Yeah.
really understand why the cinematographer went in for that beauty shot to kind of fuck the
Hmm.
area up. And if the power only goes out in a certain range, why can't you just get the alien follow like Kiki Palmer to Jupe's um what was it? Jupe's Wonderland, Jupe's it's
Oh,
like his little
yeah.
western town. Like at the end, that's exactly what she does. She accidentally calls the attention and it stays relatively close to the ground to where if you got him far enough, why couldn't
Yeah.
you just capture him on your super HD cameras that you guys just bought?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't really have like a solid answer for that. Like, because I
Yeah.
definitely like I said before, I definitely need to see this again to figure that out. Because like when I was watching it, like I mean, I was watching it, then it was yeah. I'm trying to think. Wow, yeah, that's
It's one of
I
those
know what you're
things that
talking about.
yeah, it's one of
Yeah,
those things that I think about, and it kind of just dwindles the overarching problem of them actually getting this photo.
right. Yeah, because it seems yeah they went through a lot of
That's what
lengths
all of
just
it
to
is
get
built
there.
around. Because I feel like that's where a lot of the family. I listened to a podcast recently, like yesterday, where all three of Jordan Peele's films kind of have a family theme to it. And I
Mm,
feel like that's where the theme kind of dwindles for me is they're trying to get this money shot of the UFO
mm,
to save the farm because we have Jupe offer the money to buy the residence so he could kind of, you know, get people and sacrifice them to the alien. But then you sit there like, you guys have so many chances to get these shots. You guys just keep fucking it up for yourself, especially the cinematographer. He's just like, I'm going to get the money shot. I'm like, why are you going to get the impossible shot if it's not going to matter? Like,
yeah.
he throws out a line, and
Mm,
even Michael Pera's character even says, "What the fuck does that mean?" Like,
yeah.
it means nothing, and I want to go back and see it again to see if I miss something. But even
Yeah,
then,
I feel like there's a lot that I missed for
I
sure.
still feel like there's a lot that I miss, and maybe it's these few kind of holes in the third act that kind of bring it down for me because a lot of it relies on telling where the alien is in the clouds with the I don't know what they're actually called, the car cells dummy things that float up and down that they use to kind of indicate where the alien is above them.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know the actual name, but yeah, I know what you mean.
So
Um,
it's really just that, like, I feel like that's a big enough thing for me to really take down a few I don't want to say points, but take down an aspect of the film for me because
yeah, no, and I agree. I feel like I mean I feel like the third act, kind of lost me a little bit, and that's probably why I need to see this again. Like, I mean, it was set up like perfectly, and it's definitely a slow burn of a movie, which is fine. But there's always like these payoffs. But like because I was expecting something totally different,
so was I.
like just one. I mean, but hey, like I said, it's Jordan Peele. He likes to throw these red herrings, and I mean, there was just a lot of shots where I was like, oh, what is that going to do? Like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Maybe I went into it thinking it was going to be, I guess, more like us, more of like the alien. I guess kind of like an alien slasher, kind of like alien invade. Like it was an alien invasion, but I think he did it in a way where it does make sense. It's just different.
Yeah.
Um, so it's I don't know. It is one of those movies where I'm kind of just like you said. Like I mean, I'm lukewarm. Like I would give it like between like an 80 and 82. Overall, like I did enjoy it. It's just not everything. Like he doesn't have to spell everything out for you,
No,
but
definitely
at the
not.
same time, it's just like it
I
may
feel
not
like
be.
he breaks his own rules a little too much in the third act. I think that's what it is, because I feel like they also clarify that it's when you look at the thing is that attracts him to them. And I
Yeah,
feel like they constantly break that. Sometimes they look up, it doesn't matter. They can look down, it kind of goes away. And I feel like it's maybe
yeah. You can't like look it in the eye or yeah, something
and
like that.
like what is the eye though? Because to me, the eye is that little ball that they got sucked up into. That's
Mm,
the esophagus. But if you go to the end, what's that green thing that could be the mouth? Could that be the eye as well? I feel like I think it might be open too much for interpretation for
yeah,
my personal liking. And I say that because I feel like my score comes in around like a little bit of a 5.5. I'm pretty
out of
in the
10.
middle. Yeah, out of 10.
Okay,
I'm really in the middle. A
yeah,
lot of this I like because of Jordan Peele. I love his directing. I love the cinematography. I think the acting in the um oh my god, I can't think of it. The what?
direction.
Not direction. Oh my god, I want to say affection, but that's definitely not the word. But just the way the
um,
characters interacted with each other is what I'm saying.
chemistry.
Chemistry, yeah. I couldn't think of the word chemistry,
No,
damn it.
you're fine.
Chemistry. I think the chemistry between the three of them in particular, the
Oh
three
yeah.
mains, is really well. And I know we see Michael Pera kind of advocating for his Nova role recently on Twitter and stuff. I'm just like, okay, man. And I thought it was so funny the way he saved himself at the end. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, man, you could do that. But I want to ask you, how do you feel about the Jupe storyline and the whole Gordy stuff? Because I feel like that's where a lot of people are on top of the ending and how they get to the climax. I feel like this is the one storyline that a lot of people are super indifferent about.
Yeah, I was very confused by it. Like I said before, I think my only takeaway is that, oh, like it seems like with Jupe, it's very, he kind of tries to, it's like one of those suppressed memories. I mean, like a killer ape, it just, it goes
Slaughters.
wild. But I think the only thing is like, oh, trying to tame nature. I think that was my main takeaway. Other than that, I was just so confused by it because I mean, the entire movie opens up with that, I believe, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
they
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
yeah.
it
It's
does.
literally the shot of Gordy beating the mom on the show. And
Yeah.
I mentioned this to someone before. Like the whole thing with the shoe standing up, that's everyone's big question. Something that
Oh
I wanted to
yeah.
touch on is like maybe it has to do with the mother character because it's the mother's shoe that's missing. Something that I noticed on my second rewatch is it's her left shoe that is standing up, and I'm like, I can't really figure out what this is
Yeah, I
because,
don't know
like you
either.
said, like it's taming nature. You don't
Yeah.
do that, but I feel like they kind of got that message across in a different way that didn't need to have to do with Gordy, and I felt like that was kind of told in Jupe giving his customers as the sacrifice.
Mm,
Something that I touched on a little bit more in my second viewing is the first time OJ has his encounter with like hearing the screams.
yeah.
I didn't realize when you see the lights fade out that was Jupe's farm, and taking that in to realize that Jupe sacrificed them then and there, and that those were the screams you were hearing. as his voice fades out, I found super
Uh,
haunting.
I didn't even notice
No,
that.
yeah, and when I noticed that, it made me a little bit more it made me think like, okay, so when he finally dies in his sacrifice, one, why is it any different? And isn't this getting the same message of taming nature across? Because that's what he's been trying to do for 6 months is he's
Yeah.
giving sacrifices and he's giving them money to
Yeah.
so I felt like he told the same narrative in two separate storylines for the same character that
Mm,
I don't know.
I see this.
Maybe I might have missed something. I
Maybe, but that is a very interesting analysis because yeah, I mean, yeah, that
I
is.
find him giving his patrons up way more haunting than the monkey stuff. Like I
Oh
found
yeah.
that absolutely chilling when he was doing the show, and you could see on his face like, oh, that's what this is.
Hmm.
And I think the whole him with the crush from the Gordy show was an absolute trailer shot. That was an absolute nothing plot line. I'm like, bro, why are you
Fist bump.
mentioning her? Yeah, like I
I
don't
mean,
know.
maybe it was there. There has to be some kind of because he would not have put that in there if it didn't have a meaning. We
That's
just
what
have to
I
figure
tell myself.
out.
That's what I've been trying to tell myself, Christian, because right now I'm drawing blanks at how any of like Jupe stuff really connects to the overarching stuff of every other character. And I feel like they kind of just wasted Steven Yeun in this movie.
In a way, I feel like yeah, that is true. I feel like they did well. I wouldn't say wasted, but I feel like he is a bit underutilized because I
Yeah,
mean
I'll say
he
underutilized.
yeah, as I mean he's a great character. It's just I guess I was expecting to see. I wish we had a little bit more screen time with him, but you know we had the relationship between him and OJ where OJ's trying to sell these horses to him, and he eventually wants to buy him back, and you can tell in Jupe's face where he's like, "Yeah, like I'll send them, like I'll sell them back to you," but it's like, yeah, it's you can just tell he has no plans for that whatsoever because after their father died, it's kind of put a little bit of a rift. You had Emerald and OJ, like they I mean, it was about family. They were close, but they did bicker
I
a lot.
Yeah, I don't think you get a full grasp of the three of them, their relationship. I don't think
Mhm.
you get enough Keith David in this movie, and I think that's another aspect of the story that kind of notches it down for me. Is I think
Yeah.
they all have great chemistry, but I think that's where a lot of the great acting comes from. Is because they just work so well together, not because you understand a lot of where the characters are coming from. And I get the whole family aspect, but again, I just don't think it fully translates through. I think you might need more than just one flash or two flashback
I need to
scenes.
watch some YouTube videos, so
I
I
I've got one
understand.
more thematic message that I'm curious to see if you got through because I found this one on a podcast as well. So I
Okay.
think coming out of the movie the second time, I was still very confused on how they were trying on how Jordan Peele was trying to tie the first film to ever be created of an African American man on a horse
Mm.
to the whole thing. And so in a podcast, they finally or they described it as Kiki Palmer kind of doing the same thing for different renaissance. As in she is an African American woman taking a photo or a clear photo of a UFO. And that's kind of transcending into the picture world, I'll say.
Mm. Yeah,
Dude,
photography.
yeah.
Um, I mean,
How do
I
you feel
guess
about
that
that?
could, I, I mean, I guess that could be true. I never necessarily thought about that.
That's what I
Um,
said.
but I mean, anything's possible. Like kind of, since their it was their great grandfather
Another great.
was,
Another
yeah,
great.
yeah, another great. Yeah, she was very very spunky in this movie. I really enjoyed her. Yeah, I
She was
don't.
great.
That's a good question. Like, would she kind of be like, oh, like the first black film photographer to catch? like extraterrestrial life on camera.
I think it's an interesting concept that I don't know if it 100% translates that in the movie
I don't think
because
it 100% translate, but I mean, it is a
they
very
don't really
interesting theory.
yeah, because they don't he doesn't really ever touch back on that at
Mm-mm.
all. And
No, it's just that they are like the
yeah,
descendants of him. But I mean, it also just could be, like, I mean, from what we've seen, they seem, especially on like what they were in California, like it seemed that there weren't like a lot of black people in show business back then.
yeah,
So it's like, or just minorities overall. I mean, like you had, Jupe, but yeah, we all
yeah.
know what
No,
happens.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I don't know what the connection was for there. Maybe it's just the fact that they were the descendants, and they had this company, Hollywood Horses, where
Hey, with Hollywood horse.
it's yeah. I mean, that's a really awesome name. I like that a lot. But yeah, I mean,
Rolls off the
that is a
tongue.
very interesting theory. I just don't know if it translates 100%, but it could be. I think it was just more of a nice setup for the story. Like, hey, these aren't just random people, trying to, sell or rent their horses for like these movies and stuff. Like, they are the descendants of.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That is a really good question. A very interesting theory, but I don't know if it's 100% true. But
I
again, like
mean,
there's a lot in this movie that can be left up to interpretation, especially with the title itself, as we were talking about earlier.
another thing to think about is like, what do the horses have to do with a lot of this too? Is he breaks the film down in structure form. He names most of the structures
Oh
after the
yeah,
horses,
I forgot
but
about
he names one structure
that.
after Gordy. So I
Yeah.
find that really interesting. I I will say I'm not the biggest fan of that because I feel like a lot of filmmakers just throw that in. Maybe I didn't understand why that was there. I paid attention. I tried to pay attention to it more the second time, and I feel like I still got nowhere with it. And I'm
Mm.
like, is it because he's going after these horses? Or do the horses have a role to play in all of this? I was kind of left stumped, but I was hoping. Do you have like any idea of like what the act structure could be in terms of
That I'm not entirely, because I thought the act structure was going to be more of dealing, like you said, like with a specific horse each theme. Maybe like they all get taken one by one, but like with the first one, I forgot the name of it. I think that was like the closest that we were gonna get, but I don't know why those title cards were there. Like especially one with Gordy, I was like, I mean, it was weird. It kind
yeah,
of was just one of those things where I just didn't understand it. And much like extraterrestrial life, I feel like a human being wouldn't be able to understand how, like, what they are, how they are, how they got here, where it's like, we can't really space travel. So we can't space travel. So it's like, well,
yeah.
in that sense. But yeah, I don't that's a very good question. I wish I had a better answer for that, because that is that is another thing that kind of threw me off. I'm like, I definitely need to watch some like rewatch videos, some new Rockstar videos, or like some heavy spoilers, something.
An
Because
hour
I need
explanation of everything.
no, I'm because that's what I did for the Green Knight, and it really helped me like love the film even more. Because I mean, there were like for the Green Knight, there was a lot of interpretation, but there was only like maybe three or four um possible like storylines of what happens there. But with this movie, it's kind of just all over the place. But I feel like it's on purpose. But like there's a method to his madness. I'm assuming. I just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see what that method is right now. It's
Yeah.
like it's scattered right here, and so something that I just found weird. This is definitely a nitpick. In particular, when it just comes to continuity of how the alien works. This is just my writer brain, but I cannot stand. I I, I cannot stand that we have no resemblance of maybe it's he wanted to keep us in the dark of how this creature works, but
Mm,
when you see Keith David's dad die, or his character die,
yeah.
it's because we find out later that when the UFO ET sucks up all the people, it drops out all the extra belonging shit that it doesn't want to swallow.
Right.
And you can make the assumption that's what happened, and the coin fell and went through his eye. But then you see that happen again later with Kiki Palmer's character and Daniel's character
Mm,
when they're sitting in the house. But the only difference is the blood splatters
yeah,
everywhere.
the blood.
So to me, did the first time was the alien just like holding it clogged the whole time? Because they also tell you that the alien is confined to their small area up
Right.
until like Jupe's area. So you know that the alien doesn't go much farther than them. So if he just ate them, why wasn't like blood spurring out? Or was he just like holding on to all their shit for 8 hours or something, just randomly
I guess
decide to
it's the
spit it out?
yeah, I guess it just depends on what it was indigesting. Cause yeah, the way Keith David's character, I thought it was like rocks or something. I was
That's
like,
what I thought
that's
too.
weird.
I didn't even
But
notice the first time that it actually went in through his skull. I thought it just went clean through. I didn't even notice that it was
yeah,
stuck in his skull.
right. Yeah. I don't hmm. I don't know. I guess it just depends on what it had devoured then. Because all that blood was from all those people.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, that was a that was a scary scene.
that was a great scene.
But it's not. It wasn't the visuals. It was the sound. That is what.
Sound design,
Yeah,
A tier in here. A
yeah.
tier.
The sound is really what made it the throw ride in and of itself. Because yeah, like with Keith David's character with Otis Haywood Senior, he kind of just it's just one of those freak things. Like he was,
Yeah.
and we kind of see it happen, and then he kind of just falls over, and then he's gone. It wasn't any. It was very strange.
I found it so funny too because OJ mentions that they considered it like shit falling out of an airplane and falling on him. And I'm
Yeah,
like, and he's like, he doesn't believe that. And I'm like, bro, why would you not? What other case would
yeah,
wallets, coins, and a bunch of random shit like that be falling out of the sky?
yeah. That's
Why would you
true.
think it's anything other than that? Like,
I don't know. I mean, it's just it could just be I don't know. Maybe the way that they imagine their father going out versus because like I mean to them like shrapnel like falling from an airplane makes more sense to a human than
an
oh
alien dumping like a bunch of human
yeah.
remains all over them.
Yeah, it could be something of that nature, but they obviously find out what's causing all of this, but we still don't know why. It's kind of just there, and they're trying to like beat it. They're trying to
I mean,
tame it almost.
I like you don't even know like can this thing can obviously like shape shift or form shift, but
Mm.
like how is it a cloud? It's just a cloud that stays still,
I
but
think it was like a cloud that like I think it was hiding in the clouds.
but
Like it kind of like
no, they made it
gathered.
clear it was staying in one singular cloud over an elapsed time.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
that's how Daniel's character comes in. And he's like,
Right.
"You guys notice that cloud's been there?" And the thing I find weird is like, okay, so maybe he's just like creating a cloud mist around him. But then you see him like going through all these other clouds, and then I'm like,
Hmm.
why is that one not moving? And it's just
That
is that
is true, yeah.
it's
And like
it's
for
all these small
clouds,
little things. Like,
well, like even with the clouds, it's not something that you would notice on a normal day. But like as
yeah,
observant as OJ is, he is more of the strong silent type. He just seems more of like a people watcher.
yeah,
So he would notice something like that.
yeah.
But like obviously being out like on that ranch, I guess that would be something that you notice, but not everyone would at first glance. It's like, oh, it's just a
Especially a guy
cloud.
looking through a fucking security camera.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the only reason why he knew is like when it was speeding up. It's like that was the only reason why he was fast forwarding, and they saw that that one cloud wasn't moving. They're like, "Oh, that's the cloud." But yeah, it kind of makes me wonder how long that creature's been there, and just what his motives were. It kind of just was just feasting. It seemed like so.
Yeah, they kind of like said in the movie that they kind of just wants to eat and that's it. And they also never like really go in or ever explain like why did this thing like eat up Jupe this time in his family? What makes this any different from the past 6 months? Like
Mm.
it's these small things that I'm asking myself, and I'm like I shouldn't be asking myself all these small little different things that I feel like I've been going back for and can't find any little pieces to help me solve any of these answers because I feel like there might be a tad much too much stuff stuffed in this film.
Yeah, yeah, and I was just about to say that. I feel like it may have be that there's not too many storylines, but too many themes that he's trying to portray that are kind of overlapping with each other.
Yeah.
That gives it more of an incomprehensible feeling, but you still enjoyed it. But it's like, oh, like okay, like what was this movie about? But maybe that's just what he's going for. I don't know. It's a mystery for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm all for having an ambiguous ending and leaving the viewer decide or choosing in their own head how they think the story ended. But I feel like when you kind of make that your movie, having so many different points, be like, hey, you decide what this is or what you decide they're doing. I'm like, there's nothing attached. So it kind of made me feel at the end of the day, once we get to the third act, that I didn't find myself having any tension for any of the characters. I
I
didn't
agree.
feel
Yeah.
any I didn't feel any weight to what they were trying to do, especially when Daniel Kaluuya tried to sacrifice himself, but then Kiki Palmer just screams out "No, brother," and then it just turns back around. And I really like this heroic ending they give Kaluuya, but I don't understand it. I'm like, you just made the thing look back at you, and you didn't see it
Yeah.
eat him.
And
Like,
then poof,
why
you're
is he
done.
so heroic? He's done this already throughout the movie, and he's actually been chased. He's done far dangerous things than this before.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
it is. But yeah, there's an eerie feeling throughout the entire film. I will give it that. Like,
that I think loses by the third act.
yeah, because by the third act, you kind of understand what's going on. But yeah, like there's a really big eerie feeling too, where it's like it's just day or night kind of thing. Like whenever it wants to feast is when it feasts. But it's a mystery for sure.
No, yeah, I absolutely like. Were anyone like shocked that he survived? Like, I'm like, okay, like anyone look at the thing's mouth and it turns around as soon as she says hi. Like, okay,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
I want to ask you a question. What do you think about like its? I want to say its final form or something like that. Like when it turns into the giant octopus looking thing.
Kind of
How
looked
do you
like a
feel about that?
Pokemon, to be honest,
Yeah,
for a
it kind of
little
looked
bit.
like one of
A
the
little
yeah.
Pokemon. Or like something. I mean, like it looks cool, I guess. I guess I was just expecting aliens to come out of it. Like that's what I was expecting. You
Especially
know.
when they set that up with Jupe, like him expecting aliens as well. Like
Yeah.
this is what I pictured the little alien meant to be. And you know what? I'm gonna be that person here today, Christian. I thought the way they took the alien out was absolutely fucking stupid. I'm
It
sorry.
was it was odd for sure, but I guess that's just a victory is a victory, I guess. I don't know.
That's
'Cause-
literally how it
yeah.
felt. To have a victory to have a victory. And
Yeah. I mean, but it's also it's like how do you fight something like that? How do you go against an extraterrestrial being that's floating in the sky? It's like
I
it's
mean, maybe they
it's
could have just
weird.
like
It's
fucked off
like
and
it's
just
like as if
realized
like
they
a
didn't need the
star
land.
destroyer just like came into the atmosphere and just started wrecking everything. It's like
I
how do
know.
you fight that? Like you can't fight that with a plane. You might be able to fight it with some kind of combat, calling Top Gun or whatever, but I doubt it because it's like it's something that you don't understand. So how do you beat something that's incomprehensible and that isn't of this world? So I mean, I don't. I mean, it is kind of there has to be something with Kiki because I feel like she was more so the main character, but
I
I
feel
don't
like it kind
know.
of
It's weird.
shifted midway. I feel like there was a point in the second act where you saw more Kaluuya and Kiki was kind of off in the side, and then it kind of just flip flopped by the third act, and it was just like, oh yeah, we have Kiki, but we
Yeah,
gotta make her the person to capture this image.
yeah, definitely. It is. It's just one of those things. I think Jordan Peele kind of just does what he wants to do. And
I
he
respect
kind
it
of
though.
seems like the person where it's like, if people like it, they like it. If not, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things. But a big head scratcher for sure of the film.
I want to give like a quick shout out to like the one of the truly most frightening scenes that I was sitting there was like, oh my god, is when they all got sucked up and you see them going through the esophagus. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy fucking shit. And then you never see anything like that again. And that's when
Yeah,
I'm just like,
exactly. It's
bro,
it's something that
Jordan,
humans aren't going to be able to understand.
it was so disgusting. And that's the thing that freaked me out about the alien the most. I don't think looking at this giant, majestical squid like figure was like, I don't know if it was meant to be frightening, but I felt like going into that tube of wind
Yeah.
suction. Also, I gotta say this now because it's off the top of my head, but Kiki Bomber had plot armor at one point in this film. When she got sucked up into the alien and it spit her out. She's the only person in the fucking film to ever get spit out before she got sucked up. And I don't understand why.
I don't know if that's like plot armor, but I guess it could be looked that way.
I,
But
I
yeah, I
don't
don't
know
know
what
why.
anything else that it could have done because it literally picked her up and she flung to the side. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, why couldn't the fucking MTV guy do that? How did the alien know that he was looking at him through the fucking reflective um
Yeah.
goggle he was wearing? How wasn't it looking? These are my problems with the movie. A
No,
lot,
that's fine. I
just
mean, it's
like
valid. I
yeah,
don't.
no, yeah, I know, and I feel like that's the thing is like I feel like a lot of mine are just like a lot of intricate problems within the story that I feel like I'm only looking at because I'm writing shit like this almost on a fucking monthly basis at this point. There's things like they teach you not to do, and it's so weird seeing like these big filmmakers do these things that they're trying to implement into your brain not to do. And I find it really interesting, and that's why I really like having these type of conversations, especially in particular with Jordan Peele, because he's such a you know what? I'll say an auteur in this case because he is so unique. He brings such a different aspect, a different eye, a different twist on this genre. These genres, I can say now, since
Yeah.
he's got touched more into the scientific realm. And I think I've had a lot of these problems with Nope, I still think a lot of who Jordan Peele is and who he is as a filmmaker kind of tremend over a lot of the problems of the film because you can understand who he is as a filmmaker. You can understand what he's trying to get along, and you understand that he's trying to do something unique and different that isn't in the MCU, isn't in the DC film, isn't trying to create this bigger than life universe. But
Mhm.
he's one of these guys that he has his crew. He always works on them with most of the time. He's got a different cinematographer this time, but he's one of these directors that hires the same people for each film, and you can just see how they get better with each film. Now, writing aside, I think this movie is an absolute spectacle to see alone. Great acting, great chemistry, and I do think this is a movie worth seeing.
Yeah. You definitely have to see it on the biggest screen possible if you can, because it
It was
really
filmed in
just
IMAX
adds.
too.
I saw it in
I didn't see it in
Dolby,
IMAX.
but I do want to see it in. I mean, it was shot with IMAX cameras, so definitely that is something I think people should see. But yeah, I do agree. Like I still think people should go see the movie. Anytime anything Jordan, like everybody's just out because everyone knows that Jordan Peele is the man. Like,
Yeah,
regardless if you came out of it liking it or not, like I'm pretty sure a lot of people enjoyed the thrill ride
yeah,
of it because everybody was out. Like, oh my gosh, like so many people. Haven't seen that many people in like a movie theater in a while, but I mean, my audience really enjoyed it. So
yeah.
it's one of those, um, I guess, case by case movies where I know people are saying it's like the best movie of the year. I'm like, I wouldn't go that far, but I do it. But I did enjoy it.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I it's far from one of the best films or one of the better films of the year, I'll say, but it's far from one of the worst.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
I will
nowhere
say
near.
though, it was a disappointing film in my perspective, just because, like you said, it's not what I was expecting, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like the thing that I wasn't expecting, I didn't enjoy, and that's not
Mm.
me trying to say like, because I didn't like this storyline that I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 is valid.
I mean,
Like,
that's yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
it's your thought
Yeah.
process.
And I just want to say, fucking love Jordan Peele. Absolutely respect the shit out of my guy. But before we wrap things up, I want to ask a question. So, Rotten Tomatoes has this at 82%, and the audience score is at 71%. Which one do you agree with more?
I would say, mm, I would probably go more towards the critic side. I would like I said earlier, I would go towards more of the 82%. Just because I understand. Well, like I guess like I enjoy more of the technical aspects. Usually, when the audience score with Nope, I feel like people are looking more for like a more like a horror alien type story. But I feel like where this movie is on both sides is exactly where it needs to be,
Yep.
or because I mean it's effectively like 11 percent difference between the audience and tomato meter score because I kind of like after watching it, I was like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if audiences are gonna be super crazy about this, but I mean, 71%
It's
is
pretty high.
still
It's
good.
really high for an audience for, I would say, this type of film.
Yeah.
This, if you saw like this in an A24 type of film, I definitely think you'd see a little bit more of the score on the lower end with the audience
Well,
there.
even with X that came out because that film was phenomenal. Cannot wait to
I
see that.
liked it. I
I
liked it.
lo- it's sitting at 95. So X is sitting at a 75% for audience
And a
score.
95 on the
5.
tomato. That's
Yeah.
insane. See, I'm in between though. I think I'd give it an 80.
I
I
love
think I
that
give it
movie
like an
so
80.
much. I don't even know
You
why, but it's
you
so
saw
good.
the prequel trailers coming out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there was a trailer there is a trailer out there already
Oh, really?
for X.
Pearl.
So it I mean not X for Pearl. So if you stayed like
Oh, they
after
showed it
the
at the post
credits,
credits as a post credit.
like you had to stay at the very end of the credits of X and a trailer played. I don't know if it's the same trailer that's gonna play. I
I
doubt it.
never knew that.
But yeah,
I knew this
you
movie
got
was
to sit through
happening.
X, and then
Wow.
it is like the latest post credit scene ever. But it's there, and I'm like, I saw it, and I was like, this is
Insane.
yeah. I was like, okay, I'm yes. I think let me see if Pearl is on. I think the first trailer. Oh, I don't know if it is.
If it is, I'm definitely gonna get the boys to react with me, because I'm pretty
Oh
sure like
man.
Loretta watched it. I know Amanda did. I'll force Deebs to watch it.
I don't know if it's on. It might be that same trailer because like you would not have known, especially for like an indie studio, that there was going to be a post credit trailer.
And a prequel for their horror movie of all things that was like
I
so
was
so
like,
weird.
man, Ty West is,
He's doing
yeah,
something.
he's
He's
doing
doing
something
something.
right, and I'm hoping it comes out around like Halloween time, around
I
like maybe like
I think it's coming out like early
fall,
next year, $5. I don't think they're gonna want to release two in
maybe.
the same year.
I don't know. I just want more.
Unless you're the
Like
Avengers.
I just want more. Cuz I mean, the fact that there was a trailer done by the time X came out makes me think that it might come out this year. Because I mean, August, I mean, the fall season is it's right around the corner. So I mean, I don't want to wait and see because it seems that they've filmed everything. It's ready, I'm assuming, but I don't know.
No,
We'll just
yeah.
have to wait and see.
No, yeah. Definitely something I'm very curious to look out for tomorrow. And
Very
I want to
excited.
thank you so much for coming on, Christian. I thought this was a great conversation with a really interesting film, I want to say, not only just
Yeah, I wish I was able to
commercially.
get more of an in-depth analysis. I'm just like, I'm trying to remember what happened, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you're bringing up the stuff. I'm like, oh
Because
yeah,
like
that did
so
happen.
much happens in this movie that,
Yeah,
like I
and
said,
that
I
I
think
saw like DC
over
Super
bundled.
Pets after, so I can't
That
say anything about it, yeah, because it's still under embargo. But yeah, it was
probably easily the
a
best
nice
DC film of the
palate
year.
cleanser for sure.
And awesome. Thank you as always for joining me, Christian. But where can we find you, my guy?
So yeah, you can find my podcast, my movie and TV podcast, Film Optics. That is Optics with an X on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible, and more. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optics. Again, that is Optics with an X. So we are an audio only podcast. There is a YouTube channel out there, ignore that 100%, because we have not uploaded to that in a while, outside of the interview that I did a while ago, which I'm kind of regretting putting on the Film Optics one. I should have just put on my own personal YouTube thing, but because I was actually looking to get rid of it, but I'm like, well, now I can't. So because the interview is going to be gone. I guess I could re-upload it, but I'm like, no, I'll just keep it there. Maybe I'll delete
It's
everything else
less work. It's
besides
less
that.
work.
Yeah, exactly. Less work for sure. But you can definitely listen to our Jordan Peele's Nope review. Seeing is you got to see it to believe it, my
Yeah.
dudes. That's what Argyle would say from Stranger Things. You got to see it to believe it, for sure. But just a couple of things that we've kind of just been working with. We started a new series, Revisited, with Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book One, Water, where it's me, Mike Thomas, and Leo Rydell from Geekly Goods. We hopped on. We kind of broke down Book One. We've been doing a rewatch of that. Book Two is coming in August, and then Book Three we'll be doing for Fire in September. I feel like that's just a really nice month to like kind of end everything, especially with Earth, Wind, and Fire. There we go. But we also did a San Diego Comic Con 2022 recap, reaction, and breakdown that is up on the podcast as well, where we kind of just go through all the news. Like we've kind of covered first, like more of like the non-comic book stuff, or at least a few things I was excited for before diving into like the Marvel and DC stuff, because that's really why everyone's there, it's Comic Con and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But lastly, you can definitely check out our Solar Opposites season 3 review, and it's spoiler free for everyone to listen to. If you haven't watched Solar Opposites, it's on Hulu. I think Hulu is definitely one of those, like,
Who's been killing it?
they really, I mean, they have
The
Handmaid's
Bear?
Tale. I haven't seen The Bear yet, but I do
Dude,
want to
oh my
watch that.
god. I've been obsessing. I love The Bear.
Yeah,
Such
they
great
have some really good
television.
stuff there. I mean, How I Met Your Father is on there as well,
Only
which
Murders in the
is,
Building.
yeah, that as well. Yes, that, and
That's another
Prey,
big
of
one.
course, is coming to
Yeah, Praise
Hulu.
coming to
So
it.
it
Dude, they
they
got a
really have
lot of
some
good
good.
stuff.
They
Yeah.
do. I feel like people don't give them a lot of credit because they have a lot of anime on there as well. But yeah, those
Yeah.
are just a few of our current episodes that are out. We're going to be covering like DC Super Pets. Definitely going to be covering Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. We're going to try to cover the Sandman. Maybe try to cover Severance before the Emmys. Do
Ooh.
some Emmy talk, and it's going to be a fun time. So definitely just follow us over on Twitter. Again, that's Film Optics, Optics with an X, for all those announcements, and just check out our podcasts available on podcast platforms around the internet.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much again, Christian. And as always, guys, if you want to check out our full breakdown, hour and 45 minutes of the Marvel San Diego Comic Con panel as it was happening, as we were constantly updating our Twitter feeds because they never want to post it or, do a live
Live
stream for some
stream,
reason.
yeah. It
We
is really
sat there and
weird.
whimpered. But you know what? We may do with the hour and 45 minutes. So guys, go check that out and go leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And check out our Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. And that's where we will be posting, or at least I will be posting, what films you will be watching over at the Cinema House for the next 2 weeks. So from me, from Christian, we'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys.
Peace.